Hey, I'm Dr. Pilet, and I want to be talking to you about something that's near and dear to me, and that is, what are the factors that created or developed your personality? The number one thing that I get from people is, the question is, how did I get here? How did I feel what I feel? How do I know what I know? So I'm going to go through some of those ideas and hopefully eliminate some of these notions about how did I get to be this person I am today. First of all, I want to point out the big one that we all know about. The big one that we all know about is that A plus B equal? AB, genetics. The genetics of your mom, the genetics of your dad, those two people came together. You know, that's part of the miracle of biology, where there was a child formed, and that child that was formed is the combination of the genetics, singular and combination of both. And the reason I say that is because your dad might have brown hair and your mom might have brown hair, but you might be a different color hair. Because sometimes we have ancestries of a gene that pops up, and my God, mom had brown eyes, dad had brown eyes, I got blue eyes. And so recessive genes do have a factor in that A plus B equal AB. But one thing that you can count on is a lot of times your general physique, whether you have a tendency to gain weight or lose weight, the color of your eyes, the color of your hair, your overall statute can be connected to A plus B. Also, though, keep in mind, we're starting to realize that there's a genetic predisposition to emotions and the way that you experience life emotionally. So if mom had a problem with depression and dad had a problem with the depression, we can't say that it's an absolute, but we can say there are higher incidences, more likely that you may have an issue of depression. That's important. Because what we're talking about is the wiring of your brain. The electrical wiring, your brain is nothing more than an electrical device. And if you're finding yourself anxious or you're finding yourself depressed and you find it as a lifelong challenge, for some of us it's worthwhile to go back and ask the question, what about my mom? What about my dad? Did they have these characteristics? And if so, what did they do about it? Very important that we take a look at that idea of your emotional foundation and start to realize that that's important. Now, I've worked with a lot of people that were adopted. And because of that, they really don't have knowledge, if you will, of the A plus B. But when they look at themselves and they see a pattern, and that pattern seems to be evident, then of course at least it gives them a tool to, I need to go look for some help. Maybe somebody can help me with this issue that I don't know of. You know, there's that idea of nature versus nurture. Nature versus nurture. It could be that it's in your nature to have a certain psychological manifestation because of the genetics of your mom and your dad. But that's not always true. It's not always true. If your dad was a hothead and your mom was a hothead, that environment that's created, you're adopted, remember? You're not A plus B. You're not a part of their genes. But if they're in an environment that's hostile, and you live in that environment that's hostile, it's quite possible you can be taught to be hostile when in fact you don't even have that gene. We can also say that about love. You can be raised in a loving, nurturing environment and be exposed to parents that are so loving and so nurturing and so trustworthy that you work out to be just a delightful child. And that way that you were nurtured manifested in that personality that developed. So the one thing about personality and how you're shaped, genetics. Number two, it's a big one, parenting style. You know, some parents are so assertive and so disciplined and so rigid that the children grow in a household where they really don't have freedom of thought. They're sort of following the schedule every day because it started at birth and now they're 15 and all they know is the garbage goes on Thursday, I better have the dishes done, my homework better be done, because if my homework's not done, I'm in big trouble again. And so this idea that the parenting style of the family that I was raised in significantly affects my personality development. I can have a highly disciplined family, very rigid parenting style. I might have on the other side a very permissive mom and dad that's very relaxed. They're not pushing for me to conform. And yet those children are launched into society. Remember, my job as a parent is to launch you into society, hopefully in such a way that increases your odds for success. But I can't say just because you were raised in a permissive style versus a very strict autocratic style that that's really going to have any increased probability for you being successful or not. I'll tell you why. Kids raised in permissive families tend to be more independent, more street smart. They've taken care of themselves for a long time. They don't buckle under stress because they got a way of the world. Kids raised in autocratic families sometimes find themselves on autopilot because as they leave the home, they're still setting up schedules, they're still having accomplishment, they're still moving forward. I actually had a client a few years ago that was a graduate from medical school and hated medicine. But when we talked about it, his parents had set up this idea of him being a doctor, and he had been an athlete in his high school, got scholarships, went on, and now he's a physician. And now only after I got to meet him in his mid-40s did he come to realize, you know, I've been following the game plan that my parents set up, owning it as if it's my own, when I don't really like this. I've also worked with people that were multi-millionaires raised in permissive families because mom was an alcoholic or dad was an alcoholic, and they lived with their grandparents, and you know, they were just lucky they had a bed to sleep in, and because they knew how to manifest goal seeking as a part of their character strength, wind up putting together pretty good nest eggs, if you will, accomplishments in terms of business, because they were street smart. They knew how to sell. They knew how to connect. They had a passion for the future. So here we have two examples. Parenting style. Permissive, right? Very relaxed. Autocratic, very rule regulated. The middle ground is democratic, which is where as you become responsible or capable of handling responsibilities, your parents are working with you to hand that off to you. Those kids tend to do much better in life. Why? Because when in doubt, they go back to their role model, they go back to their mentors and ask for advice or seek more information before making a decision. So therefore, they overall do better, the democratic types. Which gets me to the next one, which is the third one that affects who you are, and that's sibling position. Any of you guys come from big families? I got some hands up over here. You know, if you're the first of 5, when you hit 17 or 16, you know what happens? Mom and dad can go out and date, and you're the babysitter. You know, and all of a sudden, you know, you're putting them to bed and you're cleaning the house, and oh, by the way, we're out of milk, so run to the grocery. And so when you're the eldest of a number of children, you carry a lot of responsibility, and sometimes we call those people adult children. They've grown with a sense of responsibility because I'm the oldest, but as you launch, guess who takes the baton or takes the reins? The next one. And then as he launches, the next one. So it's quite possible that the eldest child is over responsible, and by the time you get to this kid, who's the last one, right? Well, I've just had 4 generations of people telling me what to do, and I've never had to think for myself. Sometimes we call the last child spoiled, you know, and hey, something else happens. When that last child leaves, we have empty nest syndrome. Mom and dad start to, wow, I used to have to share my time with 5, now it's only 1. And now I don't want to let you go because I don't want to live here by myself. By the way, for whatever it's worth, the highest incidence of divorce comes when the kids leave. We don't have that common ground to keep us together anymore. So as I ask you to look at your personality development, look at the number of children, where did you fit in? The middle kids tend to be the people in the middle, and they just don't want to be, they don't want to fight. They're trying to be the negotiator. They want everybody to get along. Let's don't fight. The bottom kids tend to be the more irresponsible of the batch, mainly because they've been watched by everybody else and they don't have free reign until they're all gone. And then the upper level kids tend to be over responsible. But just take it. Oh, by the way, there's one more factor. If you're the baby and you got nothing but sisters, your reality is going to be so different than if you were the baby, male baby, and you had nothing but brothers. You know, I've worked with people where of the 5, everybody was female or male or combinations, and understand it just is a factor. The next one, family atmosphere. I was born and raised in New Orleans. New Orleans is about camaraderie, it's about open your doors to your neighbors, to your friends, it's about crawfish boils, it's about Mardi Gras. You know, it's a whole different mindset when you're raised in a social environment like that. However, you know, I've got some friends out there that are very rigid in their family atmospheres. I come from the military background, 27 years total time in the military. I've got a few friends that are so untrusting of Big Brother. Big Brother, you know, I don't have a checking account because you know what my money is, you know what my deposits are. I've got one friend of mine actually said, I don't drive the crosstown. Why? Why do you think he doesn't ride the crosstown? Because there's a camera that clocks you in and clocks you out, and one more time somebody knows where I am. You know, I've got friends that will not use credit cards because credit cards show a journey of you through life, and that atmosphere is, I don't trust, people are watching, I don't want anybody watching, but you see the family atmosphere that you're raised in. So if you're raised in a family atmosphere where I don't trust anybody, if you live in a bad part of Tampa where you better double lock the doors and you don't go out past 8 o'clock, and oh, by the way, in the morning you don't go out unless the sun's up, and don't be surprised if the tires are off your car. You know, that family atmosphere that you're raised in, one of vigilance, one of security, one of safety, is quite a bit different when I go up to McKinney, which is North Florida, and I go up there and it's about 35 miles from Lake City. Those people don't even lock their doors. Instead of being heavily congested with 20 apartments to a building, they've got one house every 5 acres. You know, I can see if there's somebody in my backyard. And if a car comes down the street, it's rare, but I know who it is. And so when you look at that family atmosphere of trusting, open, harmony, could be religious, very spiritual. We go to church, we celebrate all of the religious holidays, and we always pray together. But that family atmosphere is absolutely crucial in developing your personality. And then finally, the last one I want to talk to is about role models versus mentors. You know, I'm watching TV the other day, and we just took notice of Brad Pitt, who's a wonderful star. We all heard about Brad Pitt. In fact, I saw where he had a Bugatti, and he was riding in Italy. And I had one of the guys said, oh my God, I just read about him, and I admire him, and he's my mentor. No, he's not. Role models, people you hear about, people you read about, people that you never meet, that's a role model. Mentors are your hands-on experiences. It's the dad that took you fishing. It's your brother that took care of you when you scratched your knee because your bicycle accidentally ran over a dog. You know, mentors are the hands-on people that got actively involved in your life, that looked you in the eye and showed you they care. Now that's important, because when you all are here with me as you are today, I'm attempting to provide mentorship, information for you to go out and reach out to someone else to sort of collaborate as you lead your life, and that you try to pull those circle of friends in ever closer, that you increase your odds for success. So when I give you these ideas about what shaped your personality, genetics, parenting style, sibling position, family atmosphere, mentors and role models, I can tell you no two of you are alike. In fact, if I had 5 kids from the same family, you wouldn't be identical. As I said, the firstborn different from the lastborn. And what are the odds that 2 people could come together and have identical genetics unless you're twins? Wow, twins. That happens. When in fact we have 2 people that are identical. But studies have shown one more time that when we take these twins and they're separated because, and it does happen, there's been lots of studies where twins are raised in totally different households, isolated from each other, never even see each other. And sometimes we look at it and we start to say, my God, well, the genetics were the same, but that parenting style made a difference. The sibling position made a difference because they were absorbed into a different family. The family atmosphere, we start to see so many differences. Even though they were identical, they are so different in the way they pursue life because those other 4 factors fit into this. I want you to take this information, if you will, apply it to our 5 levels of relationships. How acquaintances become friends, how friends become roommates, how roommates become companions, how companions become lovers. Apply this to yourself, get to know yourself and how you fit in with those people that are important in your life, and I think you're going to find this is a benefit to understanding yourself and exactly how you got to where you are today. Again, I'm Dr. Pilet. I hope you enjoyed that.